Hello everybody, my name is Lovely Wings and it is so lovely to see you all here watching my video today. I am so excited because this is my second video and I am finally back on track with my channels and my TikTok and everything. Me and motivation have not been getting along so far. So after revisiting some of my friends and just looking upon what I should do, I finally gained the motivation back to do my two channels that I'm working on another channel right now and post more on my TikTok, which I will get to that later. But for now, hi, I am so glad to be back and running, and I will hopefully be trying to create more content for y'all like every other day or so. But yeah, I'm so happy to be back and I'm so happy for you all to be listening to me. But anyway, let's get on to the topic of today's video. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about a YouTuber or a content creator that I loved, but recently came out to be as a pedophile. And after reading the story from the person who came out about it and from Sawtooth's point of view, there was a couple of things I was kind of concerned about that he or they were blaming themselves for. And today I'm going to be discussing it with you in my video and my unpopular opinion probably. Also, before this video begins, please make sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy my content and leave a like because it'll really help me out. Also, just a little warning because my voice is kind of weird because it is nighttime, so I'm doing this and I'm doing it without a script. And also, as you can probably tell by now, I have a little lisp when it comes to S's, so sometimes I'll say the instead of actually saying S, which is pretty frustrating for me too. I get it, but just please bear it with me. But anyway, now since that's all out of the way, let's get to talking about Sawtooth. First, I will be putting this video and organizing it into 3 parts. The first part will be telling you the summary, because there is a lot of the story. Just a little summary of the whole overall story of what happened between Sawtooth and one of their fans. And also, I will be putting in the description a link that will lead you directly to the fans' posts about the whole story, which you can read. And also, you can go to the Sawtooth channel on YouTube and read Sawtooth's point of view right here, right now, if you go over there. I suggest reading the story first before watching this video, just so you can get an overall feel of the whole story. But I will be highlighting some of the stories and putting some screenshots of the story information in this video. So if you want to just look off that, you can. For the first part, let's go and move on to the summary of the story between Sawtooth and one of her fans. Who Sawtooth Waves is, that's perfectly fine. Let me give you a quick rundown on their channel and what they did until they got exposed. Sawtooth Waves was a content creator slash YouTuber who joined YouTube on August 30th of 2013 and has over 100 million views and 500k subscribers. Now, I can't tell you exactly how many videos they have because sadly they deleted all their videos from their channel, and now all it is a blank channel with a black profile picture and their story slash apology. Since I watched their videos, I can tell you that their videos or their content was mainly about My Little Pony and just reaction videos about the new Generation 5, theories about My Little Pony and, you know, just what's to come next, and also collaboration videos with other content creators who shared a love for My Little Pony. Sawtooth Waves had a really good fan base going and was actually very popular among the YouTube community, but everything went to a downfall when a poster posted on Instagram about their story that they had with Sawtooth Waves, claiming that they just couldn't hide in the shadows any longer. An Instagram account that went by the name of Beware Sawtooth Waves posted a single post on February 10th explaining that they had a story to tell about their relationship with Sawtooth Waves. Then they go on to explain a lot about their story with the creator, and people were shocked by her story. This poster remains anonymous for the entire series, so for obvious reasons, I'm going to call them Anonymous. Anonymous made part 1, which is basically explaining how she loved Sawtooth's channel ever since she was 12, and when she became 14 and 15, she hyperfixated on the channel, drawing fan art, making multiple accounts about it, and just mainly spreading her love for the channel everywhere across the communities. And she had a friend who knew Sawtooth, so she asked the friend if maybe she could get recognized by Sawtooth, and of course the friend obliged. One day, Sawtooth DM'd this poster, and they started talking about their likings, their hobbies, of course about Sawtooth's channel, and just about anything they could think of. They started to become the best of friends, and then it goes to part 2. In part 2 of Anonymous's story, she goes on to explain how their friendship became more and more until it became more than just a creator-fan type friendship. They started getting into their personal lives, about their families and their pets, and about more of just the deeper things. And that's when she discovered that they had a crush on Sawtooth. On August of 2017, Anonymous reveals that they have a crush on Sawtooth and confesses. Sawtooth declines and says that they don't feel the same way. And afterwards, they did become really good friends still, and they were still talking. But then later in October, Sawtooth said that they actually started developing feelings. And mind you, Anonymous was 15 while Sawtooth was still 19. Now, this is where my thoughts of the story kind of change in perspective, that Sawtooth is like a pedophile per se. It's just, I'll explain my entire thoughts later on in the video. In part 3 of Anonymous's story, they go on to explain, since now they both liked each other, they would talk nonstop almost every day, and they would do kissing role plays. Anonymous made it very clear that they weren't doing anything sexual because they both knew it was illegal, since Sawtooth was 19 and Anonymous was 15. But it all came to an end once Anonymous's mother found out. Once Anonymous's mother found out about the texting, she went livid. She contacted Sawtooth and told them to stop messing around and grooming with their child. Along with that, Anonymous's mother took away Anonymous's phone and told Anonymous that the only way they'd be able to talk now is by doing letter to letter, which back then Anonymous thought was a cute Romeo and Juliet thing, so that's what they did. Then comes part 4, and in part 4, Anonymous goes on to explain that since it was their first initial separation from when they first started contacting each other, it took a pretty big toll on her mental and physical health. Anonymous goes on and states that since they have bipolar disorder and was trauma bonding with Sawtooth, they found it very hard to focus on schoolwork and just school in general, since all they wanted to do was talk to Sawtooth again. And also goes on saying how at that time their mother was abusive physically and emotionally, which would make it even worse. In late June of 2018 is when Anonymous finally got their phone back, and once they did, they remember getting it taken away again, so they couldn't really be able to contact Sawtooth until later. 2 months later, Anonymous finally gets their phone back and starts texting Sawtooth again, but Anonymous's mother makes a curfew. After 9 p.m., Sawtooth and Anonymous weren't allowed to text anymore, which Anonymous was okay with. And the only way that Anonymous and Sawtooth could talk together after 9 p.m. was if Anonymous had a panic attack or they were thinking of something that they shouldn't be thinking of. In part 5 of Anonymous's story, they go on to basically say that 2019 was a really hard year for them because since them and Sawtooth weren't texting or talking all that much, it caused her mental health to go into a downward spiral. causing them to not do any of their work, like previously mentioned before. Anonymous was still in school. They didn't want to do any of the work. They would skip, they would just lousy around and not do anything for their entirety of junior and senior year. And they go on to say at the end that they didn't want to go to college or graduate because they didn't want college to interfere with them meeting Sawtooth in real life. In this part of the story, I also have my little doubts and ups and downs, but I'll get to that later. In part 6, Anonymous goes on to explain about the struggles of their educational life. In their senior year, COVID hit, so school was cut short, and they obviously didn't pass, so they ended up not finishing school, and since COVID hit, they couldn't get a job either. Anonymous was just waiting to become 18 because, as Sawtooth and Anonymous planned, once they turned 18, they could basically have free will and do whatever they want. So they were planning on going to meet Sawtooth for the first time. In part 7, Anonymous explains how since they turned 18, them and Sawtooth finally reconnected with each other, and after talking for a little bit, Sawtooth asked Anonymous to be their partner, which of course Anonymous said yes, because that's all they wanted for a very long time. This time, Anonymous and Sawtooth's relationship wasn't just kissing, it was an actual relationship, which meant they were doing other stuff as well. But Anonymous said that it only lasted 6 months, and then Anonymous became too demanding and clingy, and Sawtooth didn't like that. And Anonymous's toxicity ended up being their end of their relationship. And Sawtooth gave them a couple chances, as stated, but Anonymous just relapsed with the toxic actions and behaviors, so they broke it off. And part 8 is just Anonymous writing an open letter to Sawtooth about how they feel about the situation now. So now, since you know the basics of the story and how it all happened, it's time for what I think about the whole thing. I'm not going to go over Sawtooth's side of the story because it's the exact same thing as Anonymous's side, but it's all Sawtooth's input and what they thought about the whole situation in that moment. Once I was done reading both sides of the story, I automatically knew that I kinda agreed with Anonymous's side, but I also kinda agreed with some of the things that Sawtooth was saying. Sawtooth stated that since they were 19 and Anonymous was 15, it felt pretty natural to Sawtooth because since they were last year 18, it didn't feel as weird as if like a 24-year-old was dating a 15-year-old. It was kind of just natural to Sawtooth. Once Sawtooth was almost 20, that's when it kind of became clear that it was grooming and it was illegal to be dating Anonymous. But again, they explained how they were sorry and that they should have been more mature about the whole situation. I should also say that Sawtooth did admit to everything that they were doing with Anonymous at that time, and that they didn't want to tell anybody because their YouTube channel meant a lot to them, and they knew that if that got out, people would start hating Sawtooth. Now, what I don't like is that Anonymous kind of seemed like they were kind of blaming Sawtooth for doing bad at school, but I don't really agree with that. I mean, I get that Anonymous was very attached to Sawtooth, and it would have made their mental state go down, but I don't think that's an excuse for, not doing your schoolwork or getting ahead in education. Just, to me, it made me feel like Anonymous was kind of blaming that on Sawtooth somehow, but I don't really think that's Sawtooth's fault. It's their fault. They should have taken the initiative to do their educational and schoolwork, even though they were missing a friend or a love interest. And Anonymous even goes on to say that it was also a Pokemon obsession that they were having, so they would rather study Pokemon than their actual work. So it was kind of Anonymous's fault that they didn't graduate and they dropped out of school. The situation was bad, but it could have gone a lot worse as well, which is why I'm also kind of iffy about the whole bad on Sawtooth part, because Sawtooth didn't do anything that Anonymous didn't want to do, and Anonymous made it clear that they were never pressured to do anything. And of course, grooming is not okay. If you don't know what grooming means, then let me explain. Grooming somebody is when an older person, preferably over 18, grooms or texts a minor, telling them to do sexual and explicit things without the minor's consent or without the minor wanting to do it. I'll put the definition on the screen because Google will probably translate it better than I will. And it does technically count as grooming since Sawtooth was 19 and gets older as the years go on. But this is a better grooming case than ones that I have seen before. Now, Sawtooth could have been more mature with the whole situation and didn't have to confess that they had a crush on Anonymous when Sawtooth obviously knew it was illegal and they were older than Anonymous. But that didn't stop Sawtooth. So, since it happened, and since Sawtooth did the things that they did, their fan base has dropped, and all their fans are very upset and disappointed on Sawtooth, and just about the whole situation, how it went down. And as I said before, Sawtooth's channel is no more. If you go on their channel, you won't see any of their videos. All you'll see is the apology, and they even got rid of their profile picture. It's just a black screen now. Once Anonymous was 18 though, they did have free will and they decided to still have a relationship with Sawtooth. And again, I personally, if an 18-year-old is dating somebody that's like 5 years older than them, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just I have people in my life who were like years apart now and they're together. And they were like 4 years apart. So I don't think it's that bad, but still. Looking back at all the screenshots that Anonymous provided for everyone, it was pretty weird how Sawtooth was explaining them and how they made Sawtooth feel, of course. And knowing that Sawtooth was older, like 19 of age, and Anonymous was a minor, it's so confusing. But again, with the whole situation and just facts from real life, I can't really tell that Sawtooth's really a bad person for doing this. And Sawtooth could have been a really bad groomer by grooming Anonymous to do horrible things like send unexplicit content to Sawtooth or to do stuff that Anonymous didn't want to do. But going by what Anonymous and Sawtooth both said, Sawtooth was very kind towards Anonymous throughout the entire thing and never peer pressured her or manipulated her to do anything. So, in the end, my unpopular opinion, I do get where Anonymous is coming from. They were 15, Sawtooth was 19, and it was just dumb love with a minor and a person that should have said no from the start. But I also get Sawtooth and where they are coming from, because Sawtooth did think they had a romantic relationship, and being 4 years apart to me is too little of an age gap difference that makes me think, oh my god, Sawtooth is horrible. Again, I'm not saying that what Sawtooth did was right, but I'm not saying that they should be extremely judged for it either. And another thing I will say is that the number one rule when being a content creator is to never date your fans. But that's just my opinion. You guys give me your opinions in the comments below, and I will gladly read them. Maybe you guys can change my mind. But this is the end of the video. So please leave your comments down below on what you think about the whole situation, and I thank you so much for watching my video. And please subscribe and hit the like button if you liked this video and you want to see more of me. And have an amazing day. Bye!
I was hanging with you and then I realized I didn't think it was true. I was surprised when I found out I'd fallen for you.